Hello and welcome to tonight's session of Get to Know the Shade Tree Federation. And we have with us tonight, I think I'm going to call this Municipal Night you'll see why. But we have two board members who work closely with municipalities. And we're doing this series to have you get to know the board members and what goes on behind the scenes. And you've seen these faces at the meetings. They're very approachable. You can always ask questions or reach out, but these are the people that keep the Federation going behind the scenes. So tonight we have John Linson, who is a New Jersey licensed tree expert, New Jersey approved forester, and ISA arborist. And then we have Mike Zichelli, who's borough administrator of Glen Ridge. So John, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more than that?
Well, sure. I'm a Rutgers graduate in forestry. Yay. And in 1973, I've become a dinosaur, I think. I passed my certified tree expert exam in 1976, and I spent 25 years as the Milburn Township forester. And the last 17, 18 years, I've been a consultant to municipalities. I went through my list of past clients, and I've worked for over 40 municipalities in some capacity or not, whether it was for a day or an hour or a week or a month, or writing community forestry plans. So I think I went to the very first New Jersey Shade Tree Federation annual meeting in 1977, and I haven't missed too many of them since then. But it's a great organization, and I've been on the board a couple of times. And basically, the publications that the Shade Tree Federation have put out are extremely helpful. Basically running a community forestry program, you're not alone. You don't have to invent the wheel. You can learn by the experience of so many of us that have gone on before you. And it's always less costly if you learn by somebody else's experience instead of making the mistakes yourself. So anyway, that's a segue for Mike Zichelli to come in and talk about himself.
All and right. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. My name is Mike Zichelli. I'm the borough administrator for the borough of Glen Ridge. I've been there in some capacity for the borough for about 20 years. And I don't have any near the experience that John or most of the members of the Shade Tree Commission bring to the board with species and diagnosis and things of that nature. I'm the guy that brings on board people like John to tell me what to do and try to convince the mayor and council to listen to them. Much of my capacity and my experience with trees is managing the borough's urban forest and preparing specifications and getting things in compliance and getting budgets prepared and convincing the governing bodies that this is money well spent on our borough. I think one of the biggest pushes we've done in the borough is getting elected officials to look at trees like infrastructure. You don't just plant a tree and grow. You have to maintain them, feed them from time to time, give some trees special treatment, and ultimately remove them along with pruning. For example, in the last couple of years, we've done zone pruning of our trees. And that is with all these storms we've had, just the areas where we've pruned an entire segment of the town. The amount of tree damage between the two different areas of town is just night and day. Mm-hmm. My background's in actually architecture and urban planning. So I've been going to the conference for the last 20 years, I'd say, and I'm always interested in planting specifications, how you interface with sidewalks, and how trees interact with the built environment.
Very cool. Yeah. Lots of experience. Yeah. So right. Pam is vice president, and you are going to ask the first question.
I am. So my first question for the panel, and Mike, we'll start with you to switch it up, keep you on your toes.
Gotcha.
What is the your favorite part of your tree related role in the work that you do for the borough?
Favorite part is, it's a two-part answer. Planting. When we plant trees, that gets so many people so excited and so happy. And then B, coming back now that I've been here long enough, seeing trees, seeing roads that we've planted and go, wow, that was 10 years ago, this was empty. And seeing that satisfaction, that's my favorite part of what we do.
Very cool. That's a great answer. I think that would be one of my answers too. I love that, going back to trees that I planted 10, 20 years ago and looking at, what they've become. That's so cool. Nice.
Absolutely. And just real quick on follow up with that is Kentucky coffee trees look like Charlie Brown trees when you plant them, but have faith in them because they come back, they look gorgeous. But when you plant them, you'll be a little sad, but stick with them. Don't give up on them.
They are terrible little sad sticks. Yeah.
They are really cool trees though.
Yeah.
Great message. How about you, John?
Well, planting, is a lot of work. It should be all fun, but not everybody wants a tree in front of their house. And a lot of the reasons for that is they've had bad experiences with trees. We all inherited towns that had ongoing tree programs for 50, 100 years. And way back when, they didn't always plant the right tree in the right place. And most of our problems today are because tree root systems are interfering with infrastructure. They're pushing curbs out, they're raising sidewalks. And if somebody has gone through the agony of shoveling snow with an uplifted sidewalk, or just dealing with a tree that was just whether it's the fruit or the leaves or whatever, is the wrong tree, competing with wires and compromised by line clearance pruning, you can understand why maybe they'd be apprehensive about having another tree put in. So you have to be a good salesman. Basically, over the years, we send out notification letters. We want to plant a tree in front of your house. We put a little white mark on the face of the curb, in advance of planting. And we even go as far as putting a stake in the ground where the tree is supposed to go. And still some people, they didn't get the message and they're surprised that there's a tree. And so we actually, in Summit, one of my clients, we actually now have a 2-foot tall poster, 2-foot stake with a poster on it that says future home of a city tree. And so those posters are now in place for a week or two before a tree actually gets planted. So everyone is without excuse that they're getting a tree. However, I think my favorite part about what I do is conducting windshield tree surveys. If you're a policeman or fireman and you've responded to an emergency, that you perhaps saved somebody's life. By conducting a windshield tree survey on an annual basis, driving every street in the town, looking at the trees, looking for signs of defects, and being proactive in removing potentially hazardous trees, I feel like I probably have saved lives. I'm sure I've saved cars and windshields from being broken, but it's sort of an unsung part of municipal tree maintenance, and I really enjoy doing it at different times of the year. In the winter, you have good visibility of the tree structure. In the summer, July, August, when the trees are hot and stressed, you can see trees that are perhaps on their way out, and just be proactive in removing and maintaining them. So I would have to say windshield tree surveys are my favorite part about it.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So Mike, I guess to follow up on John's answer just now and kind of veer into, so it's important to do these windshield surveys or tree inventories, but then as someone who works in a municipality, how do you get that across to the administration that this is important and it needs to be funded? It's nice to say, let's do these things, but they need to be funded somehow.
Yeah. So couple of things. One is if the trees keep falling, or you keep having negative experience with trees, can I say what's going on here? So that's one part you hope you don't get to. The other part is by doing surveys, either starting with windshield surveys, or we've gone to the point now where we're doing, the GIS-based survey. And calling up these maps, graphics and visuals are just the most compelling item that speak to anybody, be it elected official or citizen. You bring up a map, the first thing they do is they touch it and go, oh, look at this, look at this. So if you do a hazard tree survey or in your inventory and let's say they're red and they see too many red dots, what's going on here? And, say, let's take care of that. But visuals really is the best way, and then kind of showing cost benefit analysis. For example, with ash trees, it's a lot easier to take an ash tree while it's alive and upright. It's not that it gets more and more difficult as it dies and it stays upright when you can't sling it on a crane, and suddenly it becomes a much larger project. So it's kind of convincing of the cost benefit analysis of what you have there. And for example, the town I work on, tree lined streets is like one of our selling points of the municipality. We're a historic town, and with these, so you just kind of go through the history and look through town literature and say we've promoted this all the time. Let's walk the walk right now.
Yeah, so I guess community management plans too would be important. Just keep referring back to that kind of. What's your slogan? Yeah, and then John, taking it back to you, to kind of expanding on this question. So you do these windshield surveys, the administration pays for it. What do you do with that information? Who's upkeeping it after you've done it, or where does it go to? And you want to keep it current, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, one of the best sales pitches for maintaining an adequate tree maintenance budget has been the storms. Deferred maintenance really takes its toll in a storm situation. When there's weak crotches that haven't been pruned out when they were young trees, or cables installed, dead branches that once they've been resaturated with water and wind and the weight of just the physics of dead wood breaking out of a tree. That's probably the most significant way of maintaining you have an adequate budget. Basically, when I do a windshield survey, I characterize the different maintenance tasks. Obviously trees to be removed, and then trees to be safety pruned, and then trees to be elevated, trees to have like a class 2 pruning, and looking for prospective planting locations. So basically, when as I'm driving down the street, I gather all this information on a pad, and then when I'm done with it, I take a yellow highlighter and I go through one category at a time. Planting locations, I'd use a green highlighter, or removals, I would use a pink highlighter. And then, I have these, all of this information prepared in charts and tables, and then, give it to Superintendent of Public Works or whoever, to be contracted out or to be done in-house. Most public works departments are capable of doing, basic tree work from the ground. They can elevate trees. They can maybe take out some of the lower dead branches. There's a number of things public works can do. There's always windows of opportunity, in between snowstorms or during the summer. But, like the month of May, which we're in right now, ball fields need to be lined, and potholes need to be patched, and grass needs to be cut, and seed needs to be spread, and bare areas. So you're not going to get much assistance from Public Works during the month of May. But July, August, things get a little slower. Even though people are on vacation, there's still windows of opportunity when a crew could go out and remove tree stakes and guys off of trees that have been planted, a year or two previously. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's kind of my spiel here.
Yeah, it's a good plug to hire an expert to do. Well, it's a lot of work. I think volunteers try to take it on, and they have good intentions, but it doesn't really get done, I don't think. In most cases, in many cases. Yeah. Pam, you ready with the next question?
I do have a new question.
You have a question?
I do have a question. So the question is, what is your biggest tree pet peeve?
Is that me?
Anyone who wants to go.
My biggest tree pet peeve is the internet. Because everybody reads the internet. It's like going to WebMD.
Yeah, don't do it.
They know everything.
Yeah.
So that is my the field of experts contacting me, and I use experts in quotes of their diagnosis of what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good one.
Good one. That's a good one.
How about you, John?
So very similar. I have one of my clients, I won't reveal who it is, but there's a group of tree huggers, but they're more than tree huggers. They want the last green leaf to shrivel up and turn brown till you take a tree down. And they've actually labeled me as the deforester because I take trees down before they kill somebody or do some damage. Once you can't make the tree safe, it's got to come down. As Mike said, social media is not our friend, and we really need to explore using the municipal websites to dispense proper information, and that seems to be the best ammunition to go after social media.
I have a question that is, let's see, Mike, what is your favorite tree and why?
Oh, it's going to be redbud tree.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
It's not a street tree.
Yeah.
So I don't get to see it a lot. It's native to this area, and the flowers it produces, and then the leaves are just so, the first kind of sign of spring is coming, and then they push out and make those just really interesting leaf shapes. So actually, when my son turned 1, he was born for his first birthday, we planted a redbud tree in our yard, and unfortunately the tropical storm Isaiah took it out, so we just had to replant a new one. But yeah, redbud tree is mine.
Nice. I believe the buds are edible in the spring.
Never
poison anyone, but I believe they are edible. Is that, John, do you know?
No, I've never tried it.
Okay, check the interweb. Don't eat them until they're safe. Okay. Anyway, I'm alive.
Passed out with redbud.
I put them on salad.
Check the Durr manual.
Yeah.
Michael Durr will tell us.
Yes. Okay. John, what is your favorite tree, edible or not?
I've always been kind of partial to sugar maples. You can't plant them anywhere between a sidewalk and a curb. They need a very wide planting area. They're great on a lawn. They're not good in high salt areas, but just for the stately shape of the tree and the fall color, it's really hard to beat a sugar maple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I do, for last question?
Yes.
My favorite spin on that question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So instead of what's your favorite tree species, what's your favorite individual tree?
That you've met?
Like an actual, like this one tree. That doesn't have to be your favorite, but one that you kind of know and love.
So I'll start with, I have a freakishly large mulberry tree in my backyard. It's enormous, and it looks like hobbits live in it. And it's in the middle of my yard, so it's been able to grow in all sorts of ways. So it has this huge canopy and these intertwining branches, and it just is a very visually interesting tree, and it's wonderful shade. Come winter, the leaves drop. It rains leaves for 2 days and it's done. So I really appreciate that from it. And so that for me, the specific tree that's for me. You can see it's right there.
Oh, nice.
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 How about you, John? That's
Well,
cool.
I guess it kind of changes with time. One of the interesting things of being out in the field all the time is you're always seeing new trees, different trees. And, New Jersey has a list of big trees. Now, one time I found, I located the largest honey locust in the state. And it was raining for a number of years, but then it got surpassed, and eventually a storm took it out. And then I found the largest American hornbeam in Llewellyn Park, and it's unbelievable. The trunk of the tree, it looks like the Keebler elf tree with all little interesting crevices and everything in it. But I think, when I think back at my favorite tree, or the largest tree, that I've personally been involved with, was when I was working for Milburn Township on Great Oak Drive. Is the great oak, and it's an enormous white oak tree. I can't remember exactly what the diameter is, but it's like 60 inches in diameter. It's a fabulous tree. It's not the largest white oak in the state, but it's a beautiful, beautiful tree. And no matter where you are, there's always a specimen tree that somebody's going to have as their favorite. And we try to keep these things going as long as we can, and keep them in a safe condition. And, basically, unfortunately, trees have a lifespan, as we do. And, there comes a time when even some of these giant trees have to be removed. So, but that's my fate. That's my story.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much both for joining us. We know how busy you are, and thank you for also being on the board, because that is time consuming, but you both put your heart and your souls into it. You're always there. And just so that our members know that there are people there that are, I guess, tree geeks, whatever we are, I don't know, serving on the board.
Our pleasure.
Great. Okay.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you. We appreciate
All
your
right.
time. It was great to see you,
All right.
and we'll see you at the conference.
We'll see you.
All right.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Have a good night.
All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
guys.
Everyone.
Okay.